Hey guys, welcome back to the Captain's Log. I'm your host, Captain Foley, and today we're going to be looking at something interesting, to say the least. We're going to be taking a look at these, the USS Enterprise Heavy Cruiser Evolution Blueprints. Now these I picked up a long time ago. There's three 24 by 36 inch sheets with complete data for 10 Starship classes. Released and authorized by the Starfleet Division, Bureau of Operations, Office of Records, Park Prasado Boulevard, San Francisco, Earth. Data composition by Starfleet Department of Graphic Design, Unicorp Plaza, Stima Complex, Carteret, Earth. Anyway, that's a mouthful. So we're going to take a look at these today. So like I said, there's three sheets in there, and they're large. They're in charge, and it goes through the evolution of the starships. Alright guys, so here's sheet 1. You can see the first one is the Horizon, second is the Constitution class, third is the Bonhomme Richard, and fourth is the Achenar. We're going to take a look at each of these individually, but this is cool. I mean, I love these kind of things from back in the day. I forget how long I've had this, but it's really awesome. It's got lots of interesting stats about the ships, as well as different ships, or not classes, but names of ships in that class. So let's take a look at this right now. So here's the Horizon class, which looks very similar to a Daedalus. I don't think it is a Daedalus class. It's got a different secondary hull. But it's the Horizon and Archon class, and they start at registry number NCC 1000, and actually, interestingly enough, NCC 1017 is the constellation. So what must have happened was one of these got destroyed and became a Constitution class with the same registry number 1017, which kind of reinforces my belief that registry numbers can be swapped up like that to honor other ships. And a lot of people get their panties in a bunch hearing stuff like that, but it goes down to like NCC 1380, and the last four were canceled. So, interesting ship, interesting design. But let's move on now. The next one is the Constitution class. So here, of course, is the Constitution class, and as you can see, it's the cage version. It's got the larger bridge module and the spikes on the nacelles. It's also got the 12 original Constitution class ships, in addition to two other ones, NCC 1017, which is the Constellation, and NCC 1371, which is the Republic. The other names, of course, are the Constitution, Enterprise, Farragut, Lexington, Yorktown, Excalibur, Exeter, Hood, Intrepid, Valiant, Congo, Potemkin, and the Cresta. So, a lot of interesting details here, and definitely cool to see that. Alright, so we're going to move now on to the Bonhomme Richard class, and take a look at that. Alright, next up is the Bonhomme Richard class, which is interesting because it's actually the standard production Constellation class cruiser. So we might all be wrong in saying that the production Enterprise was a Constitution class. It was based off that design, but this is the revamped version. And in fact, it does have the original Constitution class ships, but construction history of the Bonhomme Richard class, and then it goes into all the other ones that they made. First one being 1712, the Bonhomme Richard, and then the Monitor, Hornet, Merrimack, Endeavour, Defiant, Excelsior, Eagle, Lafayette, Wasp, Eldorado, Ari, Saratoga, Torrey, Krieger, and Essex. And this could in fact explain why in Inamir Darkly the Defiant had rear-facing photon torpedoes, because it was actually a different class of ship. So it looks like there was the original Constitution class, and then they got refitted into this. Even the original ones got refitted and the class name changed to the Bonhomme Richard, which is very interesting, and I actually didn't know that, so I'm kind of learning things along with you guys. But let's move right along to the Achenar class. So here we have the Achenar class. I don't even know how to say that, so I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Here it's very similar to the Production Enterprise, or the Production Constitution class, or Bonhomme Richard, if you will. But there are a few changes. First of all, there's less windows in the secondary hull. There also is a smaller, lower profile bridge dome, and a lot more deflector grid lines. This actually has deflector grid lines all over the hull, which we see in like the 350 Enterprise model from round 2. So again, very interesting. Here again, it's got all of the Constitution and Bonhomme Richard classes, and then these ones start at NCC 1732. You've got the Achenar, the Sol, the Jupiter, the Rigel Centaurus, the Guadar, the Proxima, the Andorus, the Astrid, the Monopoly, the Alpher, the Theolone, the Xanthi, and the Sirius. Again, I find this very interesting because a lot of people bring up the fact that all the ship names are Earth-based, and I don't think that's the case here. There's a lot of variations on the names. So, and it does go through all of the specs and things of each ship here, but I don't want to get into too much detail here, as that might be a little confusing. But I thought this was worth pointing out at least. I might do a more in-depth video on these at some point, but I just wanted to show you guys these to start off with and give you a feel for things. So we're going to move on to sheet 2 now and take a look at that. So here's sheet 2 with the progression. We got the Endeavour class, the Enterprise class, the Constitution class refit, and the Tycho. These names are really messing me up, so I apologize. But we're going to take a look at each of these as well and see what we can learn out of these. So let's take a closer look. So we start out here with the Endeavour class, and this is actually a original Constitution class looking design, just with new experimental engines on them. And they start off at 1716. The Endeavour, the Excelsior, the Eagle, the Lafayette, the Wasp, the Airy, the Saratoga, the Torrey, the Jupiter, the Guadar, the Andorus, the Monopoly, the Truxton, the Confiance, the Bunker Hill, and the La Vengeance. So basically it looks like some of the other classes of ships that were mentioned before get refitted into this one, basically employing the new experimental warp nacelles. Yeah, this definitely constitutes a more in-depth video at some point, so I apologize this isn't as in-depth as you guys might be used to or like. I didn't expect to be doing so much digging on this one. I just wanted to show off these plans because I had found them and I'm like, oh, I gotta show these off because there's a lot of cool information here. And keep in mind, guys, a lot of this is basically my headcanon that I grew up with, because I had these for a long time, so I had a lot of chance to look at these. And then Enterprise came along and changed a lot of stuff, and it just kind of messed with it. So I apologize if I harp on about that, but it's just the way it is. This is kind of what we grew up with. So anyway, let's move along to the Enterprise class. Alright, so here's the Enterprise class, and of course this one, basically the refit that occurred on the original Enterprise after its 5-year mission was so extensive and so much changed the design that it became its own class, the Enterprise class. And there were very few made in this line. The Enterprise, the Farragut, the Lexington, the Excalibur, the Excelsior, the Hood, the Eldorado, and the Krieger. So that's the Enterprise class, but there is another class as well, which is the Constitution class Refit, which we'll see in just a second here. So it is worth stating that the Enterprise we see in the motion picture, according to these, is the Enterprise class, not the Constitution class Refit. So, yeah, and there you can see all the familiar things about the design. But we're going to move now to the Constitution, and there are a few changes with that sucker. So let's get into that and see what we can find out. Alright guys, so here's the Constitution class Refit. As you can see, the nacelle struts are different, as are the warp nacelles. It even has the Phase 2 registry along the secondary hull there, which the Phase 2 Enterprise was going to have for the series Phase 2. However, that got changed when it got refitted. Now the ones in this class include the Constitution, the Yorktown, the Congo, the Bonhomme Richard, the Monitor, the Hornet, and the Merrimack. So yeah. But there's more to look at, so let's move along. Next up is the Tycho. I don't know, whatever that says. There's a few differences between this and the Constitution class Refit and the Enterprise as well, the Enterprise class. First off, and most noticeable, is the bridge dome, which looks very similar to the original Constitution class, or the Phase 2 Enterprise. So it's almost like Eaglemoss's XL Refit is, in fact, this ship, because that's basically the bridge dome they have on that model. Now there's a lot of these. The Tycho, the Kyushu, the Khotan, the Altair, the Formahat, the Nakarat, the Vega, Arcturus, Polox, Capella, Darien, Sandar, Alderan, the Hor, H-O-R, the Canopus, the Spica, the Agena, the Vina, the Acrux, the Binar, the Antares, the Anvac, the Betelgeuse, the Lux, the Rigel, the Helds, the Deneb, the Adhera, the Eloth, the Alkium, the Alium, the Adrid, and the Bellatrix. So yeah, again, very interesting seeing all those. This is really going to involve an in-depth video at some point. I'm sorry for just kind of rushing through this, guys, but this might give you a first look and first idea of what these ships are like, and hopefully it'll help you guys learn that there's more to Star Trek than just the canon. But there's one more sheet left, and we're going to take a look at that right now. Alright, so here's the last sheet. We got the Ariel class, which looks vaguely familiar from something we might know. And then, again, the Enterprise class, right there. Now, you might be asking, why another Enterprise class? Well, that's because at the end of Star Trek 4, they created a brand new ship. At least I think that's the reason. There's no A on that one, so I'm wondering if that's even the reason. But anyway, let's take a closer look at these and see what we can learn. Alright, so we start off with the Ariel class here, which looks very familiar. Looks like Discovery. Big carrier type of ship. Wide body. Ugly, ugly, ugly profile. But an interesting design nonetheless. Now let's just take a look at the ship names here. There's the Ariel, the Ichkiel, the Mana, and the Adjuvant. So, yeah, there you have it. There's that. Does it say what kind of class of ship it is? Hold on, let me just take a look here for you guys. It's a shuttle carrier. So that's a shuttle carrier. It also has here on each one of them the builder, like Starfleet Division, Puget Sound Yards, Earth, or the Gazala Limited, Cairo, United Africa, Earth, which is interesting. So let's move on to the next Enterprise class. So here's the other Enterprise class. Heavy cruiser. You got the Farragut, Lexington, Excalibur, Excelsior, Eldorado, the Krieger, Enterprise, Levant, Ticonderoga, Raritan, the Tempraire, the America, the Skypon, and the Alliance. Let's see, it says to honor the service record of the Enterprise 1701, all Starfleet vessels that henceforth carry the nominal designation shall likewise be assigned the navigational contract code number 1701 followed by a single letter suffix indicating generation authority administrative order 01020043.17. So that goes on to say that that's why the Enterprise is the flagship and has the suffix number added to the end of it, A, B, C, D. I guess this, I'm not really sure why this is different than the other one, but that's very interesting in and of itself. So, and that's something I've been saying for years now, and I can't remember where I had heard it, but it must be this. So, yeah. You won't find many other, if any other, ships that have the letter after the registry number should they get destroyed, such as the Defiant. You know, the Defiant in Deep Space Nine is a totally different class of ship with a totally different registry number than the Defiant we saw in Inner Darkly, which was a Constitution class, or the Bonhomme Richard class, whatever you want to believe now. But anyway, there's one more section here. We're going to take a look at that, and that's just the silhouette chart. So there's a silhouette chart here that shows all of the different versions. We got the Horizon and the Achenar, Archon, Horizon and Archon, the Endeavour class, the Constitution class, Enterprise 1 and 2, Refit, the Bonhomme Richard, the Constitution class 2, the Achenar, the Tycho, I'm going to get in trouble for saying that wrong, but I apologize. And the Ariel class. So guys, like I said, a much more in-depth video needs to be done about these. I need to do some research, read these facts and numbers on here, and put together a really interesting video for you guys. That will be one of the upcoming Captain's Logs. This is just a first glance at this. I got a lot more of these blueprints and stuff to show you guys, but anyway, let's move along. Alright guys, so there you have it. That is the USS Enterprise Heavy Cruiser Evolution Blueprints. That goes into all that detail and depth. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I do need to research this and put together a much more definitive, much more detailed episode on it. It's worth looking into. It's an awesome piece of Star Trek history, kind of a forgotten piece now. And I will do that for you guys at some point. I'm really intrigued now. I thought it would be much more simple than that when I first had this idea to show you guys. And it's kind of evolved now, and now I'm excited to get into it and find out all the facts for you guys, write up a script, and actually have something really comprehensive for you guys, and that will be coming, I promise you. But don't worry, I've got a lot more other old blueprints, old information, lots of great stuff out there from the FASA days, and even before. So lots of great content coming out, and I'm looking forward to getting into all these old blueprints and stuff and sharing all these little known facts that you guys might not have known about, but I've been saying for years. For example, about the A designation at the end of the registry, and things like that, and even the Enterprise class itself being its own class after the refit, because it was such an extensive overhaul of the ship, but not a new build, so it became its own class. Things like that, worth talking about, worth learning about, and getting that old Star Trek knowledge out to you guys. That's one of the reasons we started Trekyards, because I had this information. I have all these old documents, all these old things to look at, and I really wanted to share that with everybody. And we've kind of tried to include that in a lot of our full episodes on ships. Some of these unknown facts, we put them in. A lot of people give us static for that, saying it's not canon. You shouldn't be including that stuff, but I think it's interesting, and it definitely adds to the world. And if I can create an interesting narrative using those kind of facts, that's what I like to do. So anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more with this and really get into the meat of this. Now I got things I have to do, plans I have to make, and take a look at some other stuff as well. So hopefully you guys had a great time, and thank you for joining me. As always, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to my Captain Foley channel as well, and don't forget to watch other videos from us here on Trekyards. There's lots of fantastic stuff coming from us all the time, and we look forward to having you here. Click like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.